The sky was sick. It had once been blue and alive, full of light and clouds that moved like soft dreams. Now it was a heavy blanket of gray smoke. The air tasted like metal. Every breath hurt. The planet of Alara was dying, and so were its people. Among the ruins of an old alien city, two sisters walked slowly. Their skin, once bright silver, had turned pale like the dust around them. The older one, Lyra, carried a torn bag on her shoulder. The younger Sari was too weak to walk fast. She stumbled every few steps. They had not eaten for 3 days. Lyra, "I'm cold," Sari whispered, holding her stomach. Her voice was soft, almost fading in the dry wind. Lyra stopped. She looked at her sister, thin, tired, her eyes half closed. Lyra wanted to smile, to comfort her, but her lips were cracked. She had no words that could help. Only a promise in her heart. A promise that she would not let Sari die like the others. They searched among the ruins of the old market. Once this place was full of life. Lyra remembered laughter, the smell of warm food, the songs of their people. Now only broken walls and bones remained. A small sound caught her attention, a metal noise. She turned quickly, ready to fight. A rat-like creature ran out from behind a fallen pillar. Lyra's eyes followed it with hunger. It disappeared into a hole. Her heart sank. Even the rats were smarter than them now. Sari sat on a rock and hugged her knees. "Maybe we should go to the humans," she said quietly. Lyra froze. The word humans felt like poison. "No," she said too sharply. Then her voice softened. "You don't know what they do to us, Sari." "I just know I'm hungry," Sari said, looking at her sister with tired eyes. "And I don't want to die here." Lyra turned away. In the distance, the sky shimmered with light. Human ships floating like metal gods above the ruins. Their engines burned with white fire. Every night, Lyra watched them. Every night she imagined what was happening up there, warm food, clean water, and power. The humans had come years ago, promising peace. But peace had turned into chains. The proud alien race of Alara had been turned into servants and test subjects. Some called it evolution. Lyra called it the end. Still, she couldn't let her sister starve. As the night grew colder, they found a broken shelter, a half-destroyed room with part of a ceiling still standing. Lyra wrapped Sari in her old coat. She sat by the wall, staring at the dark sky. Above, the human ships blinked with light like cruel stars. Lyra thought of her mother's words. When the stars fall, the strong will rise. But now the stars were human ships, and no one from Alara seemed strong anymore. Sari coughed. Lyra rushed to her, holding her close. Her sister's body felt too light, too fragile. Lyra's chest tightened with fear. She had lost everyone, her parents, her friends, her tribe. Sari was all she had left. Lyra looked at her sister's face, pale and soft even in the cold. "Sleep, Sari," she whispered. "I'll find something tomorrow. I promise." Sari closed her eyes, trusting her. Lyra stayed awake, her eyes fixed on the sky. She watched one of the human ships move lower, a giant shadow against the moon. She had heard stories. Aliens who worked for humans got food, shelter, and sometimes safety. But at what cost? Her mind battled itself. She hated the humans, but she loved her sister more. As the hours passed, she could hear the hum of engines. The wind carried strange sounds, laughter, machines, and the cries of other aliens from the camps near the human walls. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but her heart twisted harder with guilt. She whispered to herself, "If I must fall, let it be for her." The night grew quiet. Dust fell like slow rain from the cracked ceiling. Sari slept, dreaming of the sea that no longer existed. Lyra rose and stepped outside. The wind hit her face cold and sharp. She looked up again at the ships, her fists clenched. The humans had everything. The aliens had nothing. But maybe she thought she could trade something. The idea was cruel, but it would not leave her mind. What if she went to them? What if she sold her work, her body, her life, anything for food? Maybe they would take her. Maybe they would feed Sari. Her chest felt heavy. She closed her eyes. She could almost see her sister smiling again, strong and alive. That image burned in her mind. When she opened her eyes, her face was hard as stone. She made her choice. Lyra looked at the bright lights in the sky and whispered, "Tomorrow I will go." The wind carried her words away into the darkness. Behind her, Sari slept, peaceful, unaware that her sister had just given up everything for her. And above them, The human ships kept shining, watching like cold stars over a dying world. That night, the sky seemed to listen, and somewhere, far above the clouds, something stirred, as if the universe itself had heard Lyra's promise. The next morning, the sky was still gray, but Lyra felt something different inside her, a cold fire burning quietly in her chest. She had made her choice. There was no going back. Sari was still sleeping, her face pale and calm. The little alien girl looked almost peaceful, though hunger had already stolen her strength. Lyra watched her for a long moment. Then she touched her sister's forehead gently. "Forgive me," she whispered. "I'll come back with food. I promise." Lyra wrapped herself in her torn gray cloak and stepped outside. The air was dry and thin, filled with the smell of smoke and ash. The human city stood far beyond the ruins, tall towers of shining steel surrounded by walls of light. The humans called it Haven 9, but to aliens like Lyra, it was known as the Cage of Gold. As she walked through the empty streets, she passed broken statues of her people, old kings and warriors who once ruled this world. Their eyes were cracked stone now, their stories forgotten. A group of alien beggars crouched near the road, covered in dirt and fear. One of them looked up at Lyra. "Where are you going?" he asked in a weak voice. "To the humans," she said. He stared at her as if she were already dead. "Then you will never come back." Lyra didn't answer. She kept walking. When she reached the edge of the human wall, 2 guards stood there in shining armor. Their faces were hidden behind glass helmets that glowed blue. One raised a weapon when he saw her. "Alien sector only," the guard said in a cold voice. "I want to trade," Lyra said. Her voice didn't shake, though her legs felt weak. The guards looked at each other. One laughed. "Trade what? You have nothing." "I'll work," she said. "I can clean, repair, do whatever you want. Just give me food." "For my sister." The second guard tilted his head. "Your sister?" He scanned her with a small device. The screen beeped. "You're not registered." "You're illegal." "I don't care," Lyra said. "Just take me to someone in charge." For a moment, the guards hesitated. Then one of them pressed a button on his wrist. A door of blue light opened in the wall. "Go in," he said. "And don't run. You won't like what happens if you do." Lyra stepped through the gate. The air changed immediately. It was cleaner here, colder, full of strange scents. Metal, oil, and something sweet that reminded her of old markets. The city was alive. Humans walked in straight lines, their faces glowing from the screens on their wrists. Alien workers in gray suits moved quietly in the background, cleaning, carrying, serving. None looked up. Lyra's heart pounded. Every step felt like walking into the mouth of a beast. She was taken to a tall building of glass and light. Inside, the walls shimmered like water. The humans there wore white uniforms. They looked at her like she was an animal brought for inspection. After a few minutes, a man entered. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm smile that didn't reach his face. His name tag read Commander Blake, so, he said, circling her slowly. "You came here on your own?" Lyra nodded. "That's rare," Blake said. "Most of your kind run away from us." "I'm not like them," she replied quietly. "I just need food. My sister is starving." Blake's smile widened. "Ah, family. That's always the reason, isn't it?" He walked closer, his boots clicking on the floor. "Tell me, alien girl, what are you willing to give for that food?" Lyra hesitated, then said, "Whatever it takes." Blake studied her face for a moment, then turned to his assistant. "Register her as labor property," he said. The words hit Lyra like a slap. "Property?" she whispered. He looked back at her. "You wanted to trade, didn't you?" "This is the only trade we offer." 2 guards stepped forward and attached a small metal collar around her neck. It beeped and glowed red. "This will track you," one of them said. Lyra's throat tightened, but she didn't fight. She couldn't. Not now. Blake handed her a small card with a symbol on it. "Show this at the food depot. You'll get enough for 2 people. Don't lose it." She grabbed it quickly. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Blake smiled again. "Don't thank me. You belong to us now." Those words burned in her mind as she walked out of the room. The other aliens in the hall stared at her collar with sad, empty eyes. Some looked away in shame. Others in envy behind him because even being a slave meant food. Outside, night was falling. The city lights turned the sky into a glowing cage. Lyra found the food depot. A long building where drones dropped boxes filled with rations. She received one pack heavy and sealed. She held it close to her chest. For the first time in weeks, she smelled real food. Tears filled her eyes. She thought of Sari waiting in the ruins, cold and hungry. She turned to leave, but a voice stopped her. "You think you're saving her?" Blake said behind her, his tone almost gentle. "But soon you'll learn. Humans don't give without taking more." Lyra didn't answer. She walked away into the dark streets, clutching the food tight. The lights of the city shone above her, bright and cruel. And as she passed the other alien workers, one of them whispered softly, "Welcome to the trade." Lyra didn't look back, but deep inside, she already knew. She had entered a world where kindness was just another kind of chain. And tomorrow, the real price would begin. Lyra did not sleep that night. She sat in the cold corner of the human labor quarters, staring at the glowing collar around her neck. It hummed softly, like a reminder that she no longer belonged to herself. The walls were metal, the lights too bright, and the air smelled like disinfectant and oil. Around her, other aliens worked silently, cleaning floors, scrubbing walls, carrying boxes. Their faces were blank, their eyes empty. Lyra wondered how long it took to forget you were alive. She clutched the small food pack close to her chest. Inside was real bread, dried meat, and water. It was enough to keep Sari alive. That was all that mattered. At dawn, the guards released her for service duty. She was assigned to clean the research block, a long building filled with machines that hummed and blinked. Strange sounds echoed from behind locked doors, whispers, cries, and sometimes screams. Humans in white coats moved quickly down the halls. They didn't look at her, except when she was in their way. One of them dropped a metal tablet. Lyra bent down, picked it up, and handed it to him. "Thank you," he said without looking. But when she met his eyes, she saw something dark. Curiosity. Like a scientist studying an insect before cutting it open. Lyra kept her head down after that. Later that day, as she cleaned near a door marked Restricted Zone 12, she heard muffled voices inside. She froze. The words were faint but clear enough. "DNA structure is stable now. The hybrid test shows promise." Another voice answered, "Commander Blake wants results fast. He says we need more samples. Preferably young females. Their cells regenerate faster." Lyra's heart stopped for a second. Young females. That meant her sister. That meant Sari. Her hands trembled as she scrubbed the floor, trying to hide her fear. When the scientists left, she dared to peek through the small window in the door. Inside were glass chambers glowing with blue light. Bodies floated in strange liquid, aliens like her, motionless but alive. Tubes were connected to their veins. Machines monitored their heartbeat. She pressed a hand over her mouth to stop herself from crying out. That night she returned to her sleeping area, her thoughts burning. She could not let Sari come near this place. She had to protect her, but Sari was still out there, in the ruins alone. After her shift ended, she found a delivery worker, another alien with dull green skin. His name was Kor. He pushed a cart filled with supplies toward the exit. Lyra stopped him. "Please," she whispered. "Do you go outside the city?" Kor frowned. "Sometimes. Why?" "I have a sister. She's starving. I can't leave this place. Can you take her food?" Kor looked at the ration pack in her hands. "If they catch me helping, I'll be killed." "I'll give you half the food," Lyra said quickly. "Please, she's just a child." Kor hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Tell me where." Lyra told him about the ruins, the broken shelter, and the little alien girl who waited there. "Her name is Sari," she said. "Please find her before night." Kor took the food and left. Lyra felt a small spark of hope. For the first time in days, she smiled. Just a little, but hope never lasted long in Haven 9. The next morning, Commander Blake appeared during her work shift. His calm smile sent chills through her. "You've been busy, haven't you, Lyra?" he said softly. She froze. I don't understand." He held up a small device in her collar control. "We track everything our property does. You sent food outside the city. That's illegal." Lyra's blood ran cold. "I was only trying to help." "Quiet," he interrupted. "You're not allowed to help anyone without permission. Especially those outside the walls." He leaned closer, his eyes sharp. "Tell me, who did you give the food to?" She bit her lip. "No one," he smiled. "Lying will hurt more." He pressed a button. The collar burned against her neck, sending a sharp pain down her spine. She gasped and fell to her knees. "Good," Blake said, watching her. "Now remember this feeling. You exist because I allow it." He turned to leave but stopped at the door. "Oh, one more thing. The science division requested more samples for testing. They mentioned a name." He paused, pretending to think. "What was it? Sorry?" Lyra's head shot up, her eyes wide. "What did you say?" Blake smiled coldly. "Yes, that's right. Your little sister. We found her near the ruins last night, weak but alive." Lyra's heart pounded so loud she couldn't hear anything else. "She's in good hands now," he continued. "The scientists will take care of her." "No." Lyra screamed, trying to run forward, but two guards grabbed her arms. Blake looked at her with amusement. "You wanted food and safety, didn't you? Don't worry. Your sister will have both, as long as she survives the tests." He walked away, his boots echoing through the hall. Lyra struggled, tears burning her eyes. But the guards held her tight. Her mind was a storm of fear and rage. She had given up her freedom to save her sister, and now the humans had taken Sari too. As the guards dragged her back to her cell, one thought kept repeating in her mind. They won't touch her. I will stop them. She didn't know how yet. But she would. And when the lights went out that night, Lyra sat in the dark, whispering to the stars, "Wait for me. Sorry, I'm coming." Outside, the human city shone bright and cruel, hiding its secrets behind glass and steel. But in the shadows, something inside Lyra began to wake. Something ancient, something powerful. Something that had been sleeping in her blood since the stars first burned. The humans had made a mistake. They had taken the wrong sister. The rain fell hard that night, tapping against the steel walls of Haven 9 like tiny bullets. The city glowed with its usual cold lights, but deep inside the research sector, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Lyra waited in the dark, her heart beating fast, her breath sharp and shallow. She sat on the floor of her small metal cell, staring at the door. Every few minutes she heard footsteps passing outside, guards checking the halls. Her body still ached from the shock of the collar, but the pain no longer mattered. All she could think about was Sari. Her sister was somewhere inside this building, locked, alone, and afraid. Lyra could almost hear her voice in her mind. "Lyra, are you coming?" "Yes," she whispered to herself. "I'm coming." She had no weapon, no plan, only rage. But sometimes rage was enough. When the lights dimmed for the night cycle, Lyra made her move. She waited until the guards walked past, then slipped out through the half-closed door. She had stolen a security card earlier that day, from a careless human technician who dropped it near the cleaning bay. It was her only chance. The hallways were cold and empty. Machines hummed softly behind glass panels. Strange blue light flickered from the rooms, and the air smelled of chemicals. Lyra walked fast, keeping close to the wall, her bare feet silent on the floor. She reached a sign marked Specimen Control, Access Level 3. The card scanner blinked red. Her hands shook as she pressed the stolen card against it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, beep, the light turned green. Lyra pushed the door open. Inside was a long room filled with glass tanks. Each one glowed with pale blue light. Shapes floated inside. Aliens like her, but thinner, drained, their bodies connected to wires and tubes. Some were still alive, others weren't. Lyra covered her mouth to stop from screaming. The machines beeped quietly as if mocking her horror. She walked slowly through the rows, her eyes searching every face. Then she saw her Sari. Her little sister lay inside one of the tanks, her small body curled up, eyes closed. Tubes were in her arms. The liquid around her shimmered softly. Lyra's breath broke. "Sari," she whispered, pressing her hand to the glass. Sari's fingers twitched as if she heard her. Tears filled Lyra's eyes. She looked around, no guards, no scientists, not yet. She searched for a release switch, but the machine's control pad was covered in strange human symbols. She hit random buttons, desperate, until alarms began to flash red. The sound pierced the silence. "Security breach in Lab Sector 3, a robotic voice announced. "Contain the subject immediately." Lyra didn't stop. She slammed her hands against the glass again and again. The glass cracked slightly. Blue liquid leaked out. Sari's eyes opened weakly. "Lyra," she mouthed. Lyra screamed, hitting harder. The cracks spread like lightning. The alarms grew louder. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. With one last cry, Lyra smashed the tank open. The liquid spilled out, covering the floor in a cold wave. She caught Sari before she hit the ground. Her sister's body was light, trembling. Lyra tore the tubes away, holding her close. "It's okay. I've got you," she whispered. But it wasn't okay. Guards burst into the room, 4 of them, weapons raised. "Freeze." One shouted. Lyra's heart raced. She clutched Sari tighter and backed away. "Stay behind me," she said softly, though Sari could barely stand. "Don't move, alien." The guard shouted again. Lyra's eyes darted around. There was no exit, no weapon, just the glowing tanks and machines. Then she saw the reflection of her own face in the glass. Her eyes were glowing faintly, a strange silvery light she had never seen before. The guards fired. The world exploded in white light. For a moment, everything was silent. When the smoke cleared, the guards were on the floor unconscious, their armor cracked and smoking. The air shimmered with energy, and Lyra stood in the middle of it, her hands still glowing. She stared at them in shock. What did I just do?" Sari looked at her weakly, her voice trembling. "Lyra, your eyes." Before Lyra could answer, more alarms rang out, louder this time, deeper. She could hear Blake's voice over the speakers. "Contain her. Do not let her escape. The alien has activated." Lyra grabbed Sari's hand. "We have to run." They ran through the halls, past flashing lights and sirens. Human soldiers appeared at every corner, but strange energy pulsed through Lyra's veins. Each time they fired, the bullets slowed in the air, melting before they touched her. The sisters burst through a final door into the night rain. The cold hit them hard, but freedom was only a few steps away. Behind them, soldiers shouted. A flying drone appeared, its red lights locking onto them. "Run, Sari!" Lyra pushed her sister forward. Sari stumbled but kept moving, her bare feet splashing through puddles. The drone fired. A beam of energy hit the ground beside them, exploding in sparks. Lyra turned, raised her hand instinctively, and the drone exploded mid-air in a flash of silver light. The force threw her back. She hit the ground hard. Sari screamed, running to her side. "Lyra!" "Get up," Lyra tried, but her strength was fading. Her glowing hands dimmed. More drones appeared above. Blake's voice echoed from a loudspeaker. "You can't run forever, Lyra. You're valuable to us now. Come quietly, and your sister lives." Lyra's eyes burned with tears. She looked at Sari, small, shivering, terrified. "I'll never let them take you again," she whispered. She stood, her body shaking, and faced the sky full of machines. The silver light began to rise from her again, stronger this time. "Lyra, no!" Sari cried, but it was too late. The light burst outward, covering the entire block in a blinding wave. The last thing Lyra heard before everything went white was her sister's voice calling her name. "Lyra!" Then silence. The humans had seen what she could do, and they would never stop hunting her now. Silence. That was all that remained after the explosion. The human city that once glowed with cold white lights now flickered with broken sparks. Smoke curled into the night sky. The air shimmered with strange silver energy, fading slowly like dying stars. In the center of it all lay Lyra, her body still, her hands covered in a faint glow. Beside her, Sari coughed weakly, her small frame trembling. "Lyra, wake up," she whispered, shaking her sister's shoulder. "Please." Lyra's eyes fluttered open. The world around her looked different. The colors were sharper, the air heavier, every sound clear and distant at the same time. Her vision pulsed with light, tiny silver threads floating through the air, connecting everything. She sat up slowly, her chest burning. What happened?" she whispered. Sari's eyes were wide with both fear and awe. "You saved me," she said softly. "You made the sky explode." Lyra looked down at her hands. They still glowed faintly, veins shining like rivers of light. The energy moved inside her, alive and powerful, whispering in a language she didn't understand. She stood unsteady and looked around. The streets were empty. The humans had fled or been thrown back by the blast. Smoke drifted between shattered buildings, then she heard the hum, low and deep. From the sky, a ship descended slowly, cutting through the clouds. Its black hull shimmered with lights, and the symbol of the human military burned across its side. Lyra grabbed Sari's arm. "We have to go," she said, but Sari hesitated. "Where?" Lyra looked around. The only answer was the ruins beyond the city, their old home, the wasteland where it all began. "There," she said. We hide until I understand what's happening. They ran through the debris, the wind sharp and cold. Behind them, searchlights swept across the streets, and drones hovered low, scanning for movement. Every time Lyra thought they were caught, something strange happened. The light from the drones flickered and died, their engines failing as they neared her. It was as if her presence short-circuited their machines. After what felt like hours, they reached the outskirts of Haven 9, the boundary between the city and the wasteland. The walls were cracked, but still glowing faintly with human tech. Lyra reached out, touching the metal. The wall hissed and her hand lit up again. With a single push, the barrier shattered like glass. Sari gasped. "Lyra, you broke it." Lyra looked at her glowing hand, stunned. "No," she said softly. "It's not me. It's something inside me." They slipped through and vanished into the ruins. For the first time in years, the air felt wild, heavy with dust and old memories. The broken statues of their ancestors stood half buried in the sand. Lyra led Sari into an old underground tunnel they used to hide in as children. Once inside, they sat near a small flickering fire Sari managed to light. Lyra looked at the flames, lost in thought. "The humans called me activated," she said slowly. "They knew this could happen," Sari frowned. "What does it mean?" Lyra shook her head. "I don't know, but it felt like something woke up inside me. Something ancient." Sari touched her hand. "Maybe it's from the old stories, the starseed power," Lyra remembered. Their mother used to tell them tales of the starborn, their ancestors who could speak to the stars, who carried the energy of suns in their blood. It had always sounded like myth, but now, before she could answer, a faint noise echoed from the tunnel entrance, metal scraping against stone. Lyra stood quickly, pulling Sari behind her. A small shadow appeared, holding up both hands. "Wait, don't shoot!" It was Kor, the green-skinned alien who had once carried food for her. His clothes were torn and he looked frightened. "Kor," Lyra whispered. "How did you find us?" He looked at her, eyes wide. "Everyone's talking about you. They say an alien destroyed a human facility with light from her hands. They're calling you the Starfire." Lyra's stomach turned. "That wasn't me," she said. "It just happened." Kor shook his head. "It doesn't matter. The humans think you're a weapon now. They've sent hunters. You have to leave this planet." "Leave?" Lyra asked. "How?" "There are ships," Kor said quickly, "hidden by the old resistance. They've been waiting for someone like you, someone who can fight back." Lyra didn't know what to say. She had never wanted to fight anyone. She just wanted to save her sister. But now she was part of something bigger, something dangerous. Sari squeezed her hand. "Lyra, maybe this is what you were meant for." Before Lyra could answer, the tunnel shook. A loud explosion came from above. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They found us," Kor shouted. Human voices echoed from the entrance. Flashlights cut through the dark. Lyra turned to Sari. "Run deeper into the tunnel. Don't stop." "No!" Sari cried. "I won't leave you." Lyra's eyes glowed again. "You have to go." Sari hesitated, tears in her eyes, then ran as the ceiling began to crumble. Lyra faced the tunnel entrance, her heartbeat like thunder. The first human soldier appeared, armor shining, gun raised. She raised her hand and light burst from her palm, filling the tunnel with silver fire. The soldier flew backward, his armor cracking. More followed, shouting orders. Lyra stood tall, her body glowing brighter than before. She no longer felt fear. The power inside her flowed freely now, as if it recognized its purpose. Sari looked back from the shadows, her sister standing against the humans, light pouring from her body like a living star. In that moment, Sari finally understood. Lyra wasn't just fighting for her. She was fighting for all of them. For every alien who had lost their freedom, their hope, their world. And as the battle began, the night sky outside Haven 9 filled with a new kind of light, the return of the Starborn. The sun had not risen for 3 days. Dark clouds rolled endlessly over Haven 9, turning the sky into a ceiling of smoke and lightning. The city was half broken now. Human patrols searched the ruins, their drones scanning for any sign of the one they called the Starfire. Deep beneath the city, in a forgotten subway tunnel, Lyra sat quietly beside a flickering torch. Her clothes were torn, her body weak, but the silver glow beneath her skin still pulsed faintly, the light of a power she barely understood. Sari slept beside her her head resting on Lyra's lap. Every breath the child took reminded Lyra why she was still fighting. Kor returned from the tunnels with news. His face was pale, his voice low. "They've surrounded the outer ruins," he said. "Commander Blake is leading them himself. He's offering mercy to anyone who gives you up." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Mercy," she said bitterly. "That's a human word for control." Kor nodded. "He wants you alive, Lyra. The humans believe your power can be copied. They'll use your blood to build weapons." Lyra looked down at her hands. The glow reflected off her fingers like light trapped in glass. "If they get it, they'll destroy what's left of our kind." Sari stirred in her sleep. "Lyra?" she murmured softly. "Shh." Lyra brushed her sister's hair from her face. "It's all right, rest," but inside she was breaking. She knew the humans would not stop. She had to make a choice and keep running or face them. That night she found her answer. A low hum echoed through the tunnels, the sound of drones closing in. Kor ran back, panicked. "They found us!" Lyra stood, her body glowing faintly again. "Get Sari out of here," she ordered. Kor shook his head. "No, we can fight. Please," she said, her voice sharp but desperate. "She's the only part of me that's still pure." "Protect her." Kor hesitated, then lifted Sari gently in his arms. "What will you do?" Lyra looked toward the tunnel mouth where the distant sound of soldiers grew louder. "End this." As they ran deeper into the tunnels, Lyra moved the other way toward the light and noise. Each step echoed with memories, her mother's voice, her father's laughter, Sari's smile. Everything she loved was slipping away. At the end of the tunnel, she stepped into the open. The night air hit her face, cold and heavy with rain. Dozens of human soldiers surrounded the area, their rifles aimed. Drones hovered above like hungry vultures. Then he appeared, Commander Blake. Calm and confident, his armor shining even in the darkness. "Lyra," he said, his voice echoing through the speakers of his helmet. "You've caused quite a storm." She didn't move. "You took my sister. You tortured my people. Why are you still here?" Blake smiled faintly. "Because you're the future, Lyra, don't you see? You're proof that humans and your kind can become one. With your power, we can rebuild this world together." Lyra laughed bitterly. "Together? You enslaved us." "That was survival," Blake said calmly. "The universe doesn't care about mercy. But with your energy, we could control it. All I ask is that you come with me and willingly. And if I don't?" Blake nodded toward the shadows. Two soldiers dragged someone forward, Sari. Her hands were bound, her face pale. Lyra's heart stopped. "Sari!" The child tried to run to her, but a guard held her back. Blake spoke again, his tone smooth as glass. "You surrender, she lives. You fight, she dies. It's that simple." Lyra's body trembled. The silver light inside her flickered like a dying flame. She wanted to destroy him, to tear the sky apart. But Sari's wide eyes held her still. "Please, Lyra," Sari whispered. "Don't." Blake took a slow step forward. "You see? Even she knows. You can save her. Just give me the power. Come with me." Rain poured harder, washing the blood from the streets. Lyra looked up at the sky, gray and endless. All her life she had believed sacrifice was weakness. But now she understood the truth. Real strength was giving everything for love. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. When she spoke, her voice was calm, steady. "Let her go and I'll come." Blake nodded. "Wise choice." He gestured to his men. "Release the girl." Sari ran to her sister, sobbing. "Don't go with them, please." "We can run." Lyra knelt, holding her close. "Listen to me," she whispered. "You're the last light left. Don't ever let them take that from you. Lyra, please." She smiled softly. "It's okay, little star." Then she stood and turned toward Blake. Her body began to glow again, brighter, hotter than before. Blake frowned. "What are you doing?" Lyra met his eyes. "Keeping my promise." The ground trembled. The air filled with a deep hum. The silver light in her body erupted, swirling around her like a storm. "Stop her!" Blake shouted. Soldiers fired, but the bullets melted before they reached her. Lyra's eyes shone like burning stars. "You wanted power," she said. "Then take it." The light exploded outward, a wave of pure energy that swallowed everything in white fire. Sari screamed her sister's name, shielding her eyes. Blake's voice disappeared in the roar of the blast, and then silence. When the smoke cleared, the city was gone. only a crater where Haven 9 once stood. In the center lay Sari, alive but alone. The silver light still glowed faintly in her eyes. She whispered into the quiet air, her voice shaking, "Lyra." But the wind only answered with a soft echo, a promise that had not been broken. "I was never yours to own." The storm was over. The sky above Haven 9 was silent now, no drones, no ships, no human lights. Only ash and dust floated in the wind. The once mighty city had become a grave of steel and shadow. In the middle of that silence, a small figure moved among the ruins. It was Sari. Her feet were bare, her clothes torn, her silver skin covered in soot. But her eyes, they glowed softly with the same light her sister once carried. She walked through the destruction, calling softly, "Lyra?" Her voice broke the stillness like a forgotten melody. There was no answer, only the sound of metal creaking and the whisper of the wind. The ground was still warm beneath her. Craters smoked around her feet. The air carried the faint scent of ozone, the mark of pure energy, Lyra's final gift. Sari stopped beside a blackened piece of armor, the mark of Commander Blake. She stared at it for a long moment, her small hands trembling. There was nothing left of him, only the shadow of his ambition burned into the ground. Tears welled in her eyes. "She didn't have to die," she whispered. "She just wanted to save me." But deep inside she felt something. Not pain, not despair, but a pulse. A gentle rhythm echoing from her chest. She placed a hand over her heart, and for a moment she swore she could hear Lyra's voice. "Don't let them take your light, little star." Sari closed her eyes and a single tear fell down her cheek. The wind shifted. Silver dust rose around her, swirling like a living mist. It wrapped around her body, warm and bright. She looked up. The dark clouds above were breaking apart. Rays of soft golden light spilled through the cracks in the sky. She could see stars again. Real stars. For the first time in years. The night sky of Alara was free. But freedom meant nothing if she was alone. Sari wandered through the ruins until she reached what used to be the human tower, now a broken skeleton of steel. She found Kor there, half buried under debris but alive. When he saw her, his eyes widened. "Sari, you survived?" She nodded weakly. "Lyra saved me." He looked around at the endless destruction. "She saved us all." Together they climbed to the top of the rubble, looking out over what used to be Haven 9. Smoke rose in gentle trails, and far in the distance, other lights were flickering, camps, movement, survivors. Not just humans, but aliens, too. "They're all lost," Kor said. "No one knows what to do now." Sari looked up at the stars again, and her heart beat faster. "Then I'll show them," Kor frowned. "Show them what?" Sari turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter now. The same silver fire that once burned in Lyra's. "That the starfire didn't die with my sister. It lives in all of us," Kor watched her, speechless. The air around her began to shimmer. Dust lifted from the ground, drawn to her like metal to a magnet. The glow from her body spread wider, touching the broken walls, the ruined machines, even the earth beneath her feet. For a moment, the whole wasteland came alive with light. Far away, survivors looked up in wonder. The children of Alara, weak, starving, broken, saw the sky light up with silver radiance, and they whispered one name. "Lyra." Sari smiled softly. "No," she whispered. "It's us now." The light from her body expanded, rising into the sky like a pillar. The clouds broke completely, revealing 1,000 stars. One of them flared brighter than the rest, pulsing like a heartbeat. Kor covered his face from the brilliance. "Sari, what's happening?" She looked peaceful. "I'm not sure," she said, "but I think she's still here." The silver light reached the upper atmosphere, spreading like waves of energy. Across the horizon, human machines went silent. Their drones crashed to the ground. Their weapons stopped working. The planet breathed again. Sari collapsed to her knees, exhausted. The glow faded slowly from her body, leaving only a gentle shimmer in her eyes. Kor ran to her side, holding her shoulders. "You did it," he said. "You finished what she started." Sari smiled faintly. "No, Kor, she finished what we started." The wind blew softly through the ruins, carrying silver dust into the air. It sparkled under the returning sunlight like tiny stars being born again. Weeks passed. The survivors rebuilt their homes among the ruins. The humans who remained learned to live beside the aliens, no longer as masters but as equals. The sky of Alara grew clear again, the first sunrise in years painting it gold. Sari stood at the edge of the rebuilt city, small, quiet, yet strong. Around her, the children of both species gathered, listening as she spoke. Long ago, she said, we thought power meant control. But my sister taught me power means choice. The choice to protect, to forgive, to rise again. She raised her hand, and a small spark of light appeared in her palm. The last echo of the starseed. It shimmered softly like a piece of Lyra's soul. This light, Sari said, belongs to all of us now. She opened her hand and the spark drifted into the air, splitting into hundreds of tiny lights that floated toward the sky. The children gasped, watching them rise like new stars, and as the lights disappeared into the heavens, Sari whispered, "Goodbye, Lyra, I'll keep your promise." The wind carried her words upward, gentle and eternal. High above, one star shone brighter than all the rest, pulsing once, like a heartbeat, and for those who still believed, it was said that when the sky of Alara grew dark again, the starfire would return, not as one sister but as many. Because light never dies. It only waits to be awakened.